Today's episode is brought to you by La Bandera BTX, birria de res estilo Tijuana in Brownsville, Texas. Bring your favorite adult beverages to add to their delicious agua frescas, michelada mix, and other mocktails while enjoying the best quesabirria dishes in the Rio Grande Valley. Restaurant located on South Padre Island Highway and a food truck on West Elizabeth Street. Follow their social media at La Bandera BTX.
Welcome back to Paranormal 956. My name is David, and as always, I am here with Bianca.
Hi, guys.
And today we have a special guest in the studio.
Yeah, he's not going to talk today. Well, we don't know.
Who knows what he's going to do?
Yeah.
We don't have no idea what he's going to do. But why don't you introduce our special guest?
Okay, guys. So here with us, it's not making much noise right now, but
He never talks when you want him to.
yeah, Bryson is in the house. Yay!
Hold on.
Yeah. Kind of late.
Missed the button. It's been a little while.
Yeah, it's been a while. He's been out the womb 7 months already, going towards 8 months.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Is that true? What do you mean?
Well, because time flies.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, so Bryson's in the house. So if you hear a baby crying
Or babbling or something, yeah.
it's not ghosts.
No, yeah.
But
Yeah.
he's going to be in the studio today.
Yeah, today.
So today we are talking about the fourth turning, and
What is it, like the 4th of July? In reverse?
it's a little bit different. But I will say, as everybody may or should know, is we recently had an election, right? And Donald Trump is going to be our next president here in the United States, right? Not everybody's super happy about it, but
Right.
it is what it is. And because of what we know about the fourth turning, I can confidently say that the revolution is right on schedule.
The revolution?
Yes. So let's talk about what turnings are, right?
Okay.
And so in time and in history, and this goes way back to like ancient Greece and all of this, right? And so there are sections of time. In Latin, it's called speculums, right? Or seculums, right?
Succulents.
Seculums, right? So
Same.
it means a section of history, right? A little slice of history.
Okay.
These blocks of history are broken up into 80-year blocks. And each of those blocks has it's broken up into 4 sections.
Okay.
Now, you know the term baby boomers and Gen X
Right.
and
Gen Z,
millennials and all of this
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Those,
Alphas. No.
Right. Now we have alphas. Those terms are actually from a book that was written a long time ago called Generations. Right.
Okay.
And then the same people who wrote that book later wrote a book called The Fourth Turning. This book was written in the 1990s during the third turning.
Okay.
Right. And so these people have gotten this ancient knowledge and kind of brought it into modern days. Okay. So if you, in our section right now, we are in the fourth turning right now. And this is called the crisis.
Oh,
right?
shit.
So the 20-year section that we're in is called the crisis.
Got it.
And these are like the millennials generation, right? Go back to the Gen X generation, and their generation, or their section, I should say, their turning, the third turning, is called the unraveling, right? And then before that, it's called the awakening, and before that, it's called the high. So the high, yes. So our group of history, our block of history started at the end of World War II. So when they signed the two treaties, right? Mm-hmm. Then America had like its best moments ever, right?
All right.
And so, of course, there was inequality. Segregation was still a big thing. Women,
that was like around your time, right?
Before, but women couldn't vote. Like being gay was illegal, and so it's not like good for everybody.
Oh, that's true.
It's not good for everybody, but as far as the country's concerned, this was when we were sending people to space. You could be a janitor somewhere and be able to afford to buy a house. Like there was a lot of good, along with people being marginalized, right? Like that's still a section of it. But on the average, it was pretty good. It was pretty good, right? Well, the first section is over when JFK is assassinated.
That was Bryson.
Right? Yeah, that wasn't me. And so when JFK is assassinated, there's a bit of a, like, what they call the awakening, right? Yeah. So the original section, right, the high, there's a lot of community. Like, it's all about what's good for the country, all of this stuff. And so people, if you knew people that were alive during then, and maybe your grandparents, I don't know, maybe.
It's, how old is my grandpa? He's
so
72, 74.
So, yeah, so he's in that era,
range,
but he was young, right?
Yeah.
But the people back then, to fight the war, people collected, like citizens, collected cans and did things to support the soldiers in World War II.
Oh, okay.
Like, it was all about community, right?
Yeah.
And like I said, there's still marginalized people, but everybody's trying for one goal, right? Everybody's together.
To provide.
Right. To for the betterment of the whole country, not just me, right?
Yeah, get it.
And then JFK is assassinated. And so then you start to have a little bit of tilt, right? And so
Separation.
Now, right. And so now one of the things that JFK started was the civil rights movement, right? And so there was JFK and then there was Martin Luther King. And so now these people that were marginalized are starting to get a little bit more recognition and a little bit more rights, but it kind of tilts the everybody's together off a little bit, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, we're not all doing the same things. There's certain groups of people that are like, wait. I'm being treated unfairly. I need to be treated better, right? And so this starts to tilt a little bit. And so the middle class starts to go down, and this is called the awakening. And so people are starting to understand, oh, black people are humans too. And, like, they're just like me. And women's lib starts around this time and all of this stuff where men are starting to realize, oh, women can be smart and they can be educated and they can work. They can do all right. And so now we're starting to open our eyes to individuality a little bit. Right. And so this section, which, let's see, it started with, it was World War II, and then it goes back to Ronald Reagan's second election, his second term.
Okay.
And that kind of starts this even more imbalance and more about individuality. And so this is a section where you started to have really good music, like in the 60s, right? The 60s is famous for their music and their art and all of this kind of expression, right?
Oh, are you being for real?
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Well, the Beatles were there, like Rolling Stones.
Okay.
Like music. I don't mean that you would like it. Yeah. I don't mean that you would like it. But what I mean is music took a huge jump forward.
Yeah.
And art did too. Well, the 90s is even more about individuality, and it's an even bigger jump forward. And so now music is bigger. So as a person who lived through the 90s, I will tell you that Tejano music was the best in the 90s.
Right.
Country music was the best in the 90s. Rock and roll was the best in the 90s. Rap was the best in the 90s. 100%. Like, all of this stuff was just better in the 90s. And then we kind of get off the rails after that, right?
Yes, dies down.
And so from Ronald Reagan to the next turning, right? So in the third turnings when the fourth turning was written. And in this book, they predicted that in the fourth turning, it was going to start with a plane crash, that it was going to go into a major building.
God damn it.
Like they predicted 9/11.
Yeah.
They predicted the wars that were going to happen. They predicted all this stuff because they wrote this in the 90s.
Fuck.
Right? And so these guys have...
This is like another fucking Simpsons version?
Right. But these guys are historians, right? What so they understand how things work, and they're predicting all of this stuff. And so they predicted COVID. They predicted all these things in the book, The Fourth Turning, right? And so the newest book is called The Fourth Turning is Here, right? It's only one of the guys is still alive, and he wrote the newest book, The Fourth Turning is Here.
Fuck.
And so he's talking about all of this stuff. And so if we're in the final block of our...
Do we come out in the book?
There is something about a podcast. Right. That has a baby.
Right.
In the studio.
Right.
Anyway. So they're talking about all this stuff. And so we're in the final turning of our block. Mm-hmm. Right. And so the interesting thing is that we're in the fourth turning. Well, the fourth turning before ours, right? We talked about that the end of the last block was World War II, right? That's 80 years ago. Mm-hmm. You go back 80 years from there, it's a civil war.
Shit.
You go back 80 years again, it's the American Revolutionary War.
Fuck.
Right? So this is how it stacks up.
Okay. But that's the math you did.
This is in the book. I'm just telling you what's in the book.
Okay.
Right? So this is how it worked the last time, right?
Yeah, because I don't trust your math. So
right.
Okay.
Well,
if it
you're
comes
going
from
to
the book,
freak out. This is in the book, right? So it starts with... So from World War II, right? Before that was World War I, and before that was the Spanish-American War. So these wars built up to World War II. And then World War II is this worldwide war. Everybody comes together when it's over, and we have this kind of rebirth. They talk about it like a forest that burns down and has new growth coming up.
Right.
Right? So if you go back from there, you have the Civil War, and before the Civil War was the Texas Revolution and the Mexican American War, right? Mm-hmm. You go back before that, and you have the French and Indian Wars that led to the American Revolution. So there's these wars that build up, right? And in our current speculum, we have the Iraq War, and then now the Afghanistan War.
Right.
And currently we have two wars going on. One that's in shit, my brain went blank. One that is in Russia fighting Ukraine, and one that is Gaza fighting Israel. And so the fear is, or the possible prediction is, we're headed to World War III, right? And that when that is over, then we're going to have this rebirth, and things are going to be balanced again, where people are happy and people are calm, and we're going to have a prosperity, but we got to get through this crisis. This is the weirdest part. When you do the math and you go back to World War II, and you get to when the treaties were signed and everything's over, and we start the new cycle, right? The timeline for us is that our speculum ends in 2028.
Oh, shit.
Which is the end of President Trump's next term.
Shit.
So it's pretty crazy, like all of the stuff that's in this book and what they're predicting and how this is supposed to work. Right?
Man, what the fuck?
And so this is like a science that they've been able to, like I said, this goes back to like the ancient Greece understood this, and that we have these blocks, and that in 20 years, every generation has something that they like represent. So like in our seculum.
So you think this is a code like in the Matrix? Like a certain
It
amount
could
of
be.
time?
It could be, right? Like it's a repeat of a level kind of thing, right? Like the storyline just kind of repeats, just with different characters and different places and slightly different things. Yeah. Because check this out. So I'm Gen X, right? So Gen X people, and one of the big differences between us is Gen X are nomads. So you know how I'm always traveling and I'm always moving around and like during the day and you're messaging me and I'm in Weslaco or I'm in...
That's true.
Right?
I think it's everywhere but home.
So my generation is like that, and we're all about travel and moving around, and the people in my generation make things so people can move, right? Elon is a Gen X. He makes electric cars. He makes spaceships, right? But you go back to the seculum before that, Henry Ford would be the equivalent of a Gen Xer in the timeline before.
Oh, okay. I get it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like my generation, the quote unquote Gen X generation.
So you think you're Ford?
Like we all do the same things.
Yeah.
Like we're builders and we're fixers and like, you know how I just meddle
movers.
And we're movers, right? Yeah. And so the people before me, my parents' generation, your grandparents' generation, the boomers, they're like the wise prophets, right? And so when you look at like Steve Jobs and what's the name of the other guy? I
don't know who the fuck is that.
The guy who does Microsoft, Bill Gates, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So they predicted that everybody was going to have a computer, and they're all about the networking. Bill Gates predicted COVID 5 years before it happened as well.
Okay.
Right? So they're the ones that predict everything. And then my generation, we're the movers, we're the fixers, right? We're the ones who kind of fix the stuff like that. Below them.
What about millennials?
So I think that's your generation?
Yeah, I think. Is it 2000s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're the hero generation.
Of course.
So check this out. Check this out. This is the part that really kind of freaked me out.
What?
Because you all, your generation, are going to be during the crisis, which is now.
Okay, I'm not going to war. Let me tell you right.
But they are going to be the ones that are the soldiers. They're going to be the nurses, the fire department, the police officers. So they're going to be the heroes that are.
So you know what's crazy though? That the dragon year was this year, 2024. And then 2025 is a snake year. So the snake year for the dragon babies, it's like a career path movement. So you think that also has to be related?
It has to be, I guess.
It has to be.
It has to be. So guess who else is in your generation that is part of the heroes? The ones that are going to fix everything when the crisis is over.
Guys, we're not going to go to war. I'll fix this. I gotcha.
Get this.
What?
The Parkland kids. The kids that grew up with school shootings.
Oh,
including you, right? I mean, there was a shooting at your school, right? Those kids are the ones that are going to grow up, and when they're adults, which you're adult, right? You're an adult, but you're an early adult, right? Like you got a little bit of ways to go, but imagine how much more mature and more capable you're going to be in 4 more years, right?
Yeah.
This generation in 4 more years, the Parkland kids, all these kids that grew up with school shootings are the ones that are going to have the ideas that are going to start our next timeline.
Like the problem solvers.
The problem solvers, the heroes, right? And so the generation behind you, which is your kids, are going to be the artists from there.
God damn it.
And so they're going to come up with all of the new music and all of the new genres of art.
And Brooklyn's a pretty good artist, no cap.
So this is the other thing too, right? Because she's going to be kind of like the boomer of the old generation, the prophets, right? Yeah. She's going to be that in the next timeline. Get this. Because the people that were born in that era were all about getting along and all of this stuff, they're the most polite people, and they always try to make sure everybody around them is good.
Okay.
Does that sound like Brooklyn though? Because she's kind of she's not a typical kid, right? Like she's very polite.
she reads the room. She tries to get involved with everyone in the room. Like she'll talk to each.
She's a people person.
Yeah, she's a people person. Not like I'm a people person, but in a different way from Brooklyn. Like you can see the difference how she approaches people and how I approach.
But that's kind of what I'm trying to get at. Yeah. Because like with you, like to use the expression, she'll cut the bitch, right? Like that. I mean, you stand up, you speak your mind, all of this stuff. If Brooklyn gets upset, it's different. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Because that generation is that way, right? Yeah. And so, like, if you think about, like, your grandfather, who I know, right? Mm-hmm. He's like that. Like, he's a calm guy, get along. He's very nice. You know, like, he's not get in your face and... Loud. Yeah. Like, he's not hey, you looking at me? What are you looking at? Right? He's not like that. No, he's not like that at all. Right? And neither is my mom. Neither, these people, like my dad, the other thing that's really weird, and maybe you'll see this because you live in a generational household, right? Like, your grandparents and my mom and your kids, right? You know all the generations, right? Yeah. Your family's close. People get along better not with their parents, but with their grandparents. Yeah. Does that fit with you? Yeah. And does that fit with Brooklyn too? Yeah. So the reason is because the way the grandparents are born and raised, they do different for their kids, right? Yeah. Like they grew up to be really strict, blah, 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 or not strict at all, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then their kids are the opposite. And then their kids are the opposite. So it gets along, right? And so, we recently had my niece stay with us for a while, right? And one of her questions to me was, how did you grow up? Did you grow up with like all of this protection, right? Because she's a young kid. She's like 19, right? Mm-hmm. So she grew up in this kind of, I don't know, like there's padding on everything. You know what I mean? Like that's how she grew up, right? And maybe you grew up similar, I mean, right? Like, sure. And I said, look, and I was like, because she kind of was, I don't know how to say this politely, right? But I think she wanted more freedom. I'll say it that way. Right. I think she wanted more freedom. And she didn't know how to. And her parents didn't really want to give her any freedom. And so she was asking me and my wife. How much freedom you had. Did you have to tell them everywhere that you went? And did you have to, I don't know, padding on the walls and, like all this safety stuff, right? Because she's a good kid. And so if she was my kid, let's just say it this way. But let's just say she didn't grow up with her grandparents. She didn't, no. Yeah, so there you go. So she has a lot of questions because unlike you who know everybody, she's not like that, right? So she's asking me questions. Right. And so she's like, I feel like my parents were a little bit strict and they didn't need to be so strict and they were scared of everything and they didn't need to be scared of everything, et cetera, right? And I said, look, this is not a problem with your parents. Yeah. This is a generation thing. Mm-hmm. And I said, when I was little, and this may be the case with your mom, right? Because your mom and I are the same age. Yeah. Our parents told us, when you see the lights on the street come on, you better be home. And then we were outside the whole day and we were doing who knows what. And I was miles away. We went, even me, I didn't even grow up down here. I was in Mexico for no reason. Getting drunk in a bar because they let you drink when you're 15 and 16 years old, right? Right. And so it was crazy. Like the way that we grew up was just ridiculous. I call myself, and a lot of my people from my generation, we call ourselves the feral generation. We grew up like wild animals. We drank from the hose. We ate stuff we found in the trash. Like we just were crazy kids, right?
Is it too late to call CPS on your mom?
But then when we have kids, and I don't have kids, right? Yeah. So, but when just to make it clear, when people have kids,
Lego don't eat trash.
Yeah, they don't eat trash. Because of the way you grew up, and because of the dangers that you saw and that you knew, you don't want your kids to have those. So then you grow up overprotective. But then Brooklyn's kids, they're probably going to be like me. Right. She's going to be like, well, there's nothing to be scared of because I never got in any trouble ever. So I'm not scared of anything. And then, you know what I mean?
Okay, yeah, I see that. I see the pattern. Yeah, I get it.
So anyway, I was trying to tell her not to be too judgmental because you're always critical of how your parents raised you, right? Because especially when you become a teenager into your early 20s and you're having the mentality of an adult and you're not scared of the boogeyman anymore and you're not scared of the dark anymore. And you're like, man, a lot of the shit my parents fed me was bullshit, right? But the
dark is still kind of scary though.
But they're trying their best, right? It's what I was trying to tell her. Is like, your parents are trying their best. Understand that we grew up with no rules at all. So because we knew all these dangers and people my age, and including me, like you were one of those kids that were looking for white vans outside just for the fan. Yes.
For the fun of it.
Thank God they didn't have Pokemon because I would have gone inside of the van for a good Pokemon.
Yeah.
But that's how it was, right? Yeah. And so my point is, let's not be too judgmental about everybody because the world's about to get real close to ending soon.
So it was kind of bad timing to have kids, right?
Well, I mean, they're going to be good artists and they're going to be good kids. Brooklyn's already an amazing kid. We haven't figured this one out yet.
He's already asleep, so.
He's still a little, so I don't really know his personality.
He's acting like a cat, so.
He's a lot like a cat, which reminds me that might be a future episode.
Right. That's crazy, though. I totally think it's related to the Chinese zodiac.
So, like I said, this is based off of ancient knowledge.
It's numerology, zodiacs.
It all kind of works together.
It all works together. Matrix.
Yeah.
Is it codes with numbers? We need an episode on numerology. We need someone that knows their numbers.
If you know your numbers.
Yes.
And if you know letters.
Even better.
Better.
Bryson is not there yet, so we're not able to.
Bryson doesn't know any numbers yet.
Or letters. But we'll figure that one out.
I want to thank Bryson for his help today. And
the crazy comments.
Yeah. So let us know.
We had to mute him a little bit, but
yeah. He was good.
It was good.
So this is the thing, right? We have a few ideas for episodes coming up. We want to do portals and cats and numerology.
Yeah.
And so if anybody out there has information that they think we should look into or we really want to get more into talking to our fans and building a community.
Though we're on and off on the
we're going to be better. We're going to be better. This is the thing too. We do have a few fans that message us. We're still messaging with people about Mark Kilroy. Update: Mark Kilroy's father passed away recently. Mm-hmm. There is a charity, if I can remember what it is, but there is a Mark Kilroy foundation.
You missed the L's.
I'm missing a lot of stuff. My fingers don't work that well. But just an update on that. Is there any other updates that we have?
No, it's just that's the main one.
Mark Kilroy's yeah. But we do plan on posting. We're getting back into the swing of things. I have been sick again and dealing with my health, but I am feeling much better, and I think I'm sounding better.
Yeah, you are.
Because I was slurring for a long time.
Not that much, though. Yeah.
I didn't like it.
But you don't sound drunk anymore.
I didn't like it. I didn't like it. But thank you for joining us. We will see you all soon. Like and subscribe and tell your friends. I hope you're telling your friends.
Yeah. Hopefully you do.
Bye.
Bye.